Starting around 3000 BC, the Pharaonic civilization and its progressive decision families have been the focal point of the world's consideration, as the pharaohs of this human advancement maintained their mysteries from being messed with by the Greeks, Romans, and Romans. The trespassers or different leaders of Egypt, notwithstanding their high-level knowledge and investigation of nature and cosmology, made their civilization be the subject of reports and suppositions. One could expect that UFOs are a cutting-edge peculiarity originating from the Roswell episode in 1947, which ignited a rush of unconventional and profound space lunacy all through the US, and later the world. However, UFOs have perplexed people since well before written history, as cavern artistic creations have been found all around the world that seem to portray outsider guests from space. There are additionally early verifiable records from millennia prior that give the feeling that our predecessors were more acquainted with UFOs than we could envision, in spite of the fact that they may not be guaranteed to connect them to outsiders. One specific model comes from 1440 BC in Old Egypt. As indicated by questioned reports as far as anyone knows recorded by the copyists of Pharaoh Thutmose III, fire circles were seen drifting over the skies of Lower Egypt. The occurrence is supposed to be recorded in the purported Tally papyrus, which Alberto Tally, head of the Egyptian branch of the Vatican Gallery, found in 1933 in a collectibles shop in Cairo. Tally didn't have the means to purchase the first papyrus from the shop, so all things considered he replicated the hieratic text and afterward interpreted it into pictographs. The pictographs were subsequently duplicated and interpreted by Sovereign Boris de Rachwiltz, an Italian-Russian Egyptologist, who accepted the papyrus was important for the archives of Thutmose III. The interpretation, made more express by anthropologist Cedric Leonard, peruses. In the 22nd year, of the 3rd month of winter, at the 6th hour of the day, among the recorders of the place of life, a peculiar fire circle was tracked down coming out of sight. The papyrus likewise says, it had no head, and its breath discharged a foul smell, and its body was 1 bar long and 1 bar in width, and it had no voice. It came toward the place of His Highness the ruler. The papyrus adds as made an interpretation of, they went to the ruler to tell him, and afterward His Highness requested the looks to be written in the place of life, and the Lord contemplated them, and following a few days, their number overhead expanded like never before. The papyrus proceeds to depict it. It sparkled overhead more brilliant than the sun, and stretched out to the furthest reaches of the 4 mainstays of paradise. The place of the fire circle's areas of strength for was the multitude of the ruler, and His Highness thoroughly searched amidst it. It was after supper when the tablets rose very high toward the south. A magnificent unstable substance beforehand obscure starting from the groundwork of the state poured down from the sky, and the Lord requested incense to be brought to mitigate the core of Ammonius Ra, the divine force of the 2 terrains. Obviously, there are questions about the realness of the source, as Alberto Tully is by all accounts the main individual who really saw the first papyrus. It is additionally expected that the duplicate introduced to Boris de Rachwiltz contains numerous mistakes. The area of the first papyrus, or even whether it even exists, stays a secret right up to the present day. There is a boundless conviction that this universe contains numerous animals, creatures, and various types of life, incorporating outsiders living in different planets, cosmic systems, and universes. The Toli Papyrus is viewed as one of the most abnormal papyri ever to contact us from the pharaonic progress connected with outsiders. This text was composed on papyrus portraying the locating of a puzzling item seen by the Egyptian pharaoh Thutmose III, 1481 BC 1425 BC. Toli Papyrus text. The papyrus, known as the Toli Papyrus, depicts exhaustively the design of the abnormal article, its size and its impact on the encompassing region, and the writer of the papyrus considered it the circle of fire. It is most fascinating that the old Egyptians furnished stargazers with a profound information on the sky and different things, so it is far-fetched that they are moving meteors or meteors with rings of fire. Regardless, the text says that the article didn't tumble from the sky, however stayed there and developed. The text of the papyrus peruses as follows. In the year 22, in the 3rd month of winter, at the 6th hour of the day, the copyists of the place of life saw a circle of fire coming from the sky. Its body was one long pole and it had no sound, so the hearts of the recorders ended up being confounded and they hurled themselves down on their stomachs. Then, at that point, they referenced to make a difference to Pharaoh, who mulled over everything, then, at that point, requested the episode to be kept in looks in the place of life, and, following a couple of days had passed, these things turned out to be increasingly more various overhead, surpassing the magnificence in that the sun reached out to the four corners of the sky. The narrative of the Tully Papyrus. The story starts in 1933 with Alberto Tully, the Egyptian overseer of the Vatican Gallery who works in Cairo, and once, during a shopping trip, he passed by a second-hand store shop and tracked down a piece of old papyrus that appeared to be to trace all the way back to 1480 BC. He attempted to get it, yet it was pricey, so he asked consent just to duplicate the items and read it later in his extra time. What he read was shock. The papyrus portrays the tale of the Ring of Fire that arrived at Old Egypt during the rule of the Egyptian pharaoh Thutmose III, 1481 BC 1425 BC. As he kept perusing, it turned out to be obvious to him that what he was perusing was one of the principal texts really composed by others on the planet, and he hurried to the store to purchase the papyrus at any cost, which excited the certainty of the Vatican specialists. However, the papyrus vanished totally. After 20 years, an Italian man, Sovereign Boris of Requelitz, uncovered the papyrus back when he purportedly found a torn duplicate of the papyrus in a book left by Alberto Tully. He later said that he had seen the first papyrus and deciphered it, in spite of the fact that there were a few holes in the text contrasted with Tully's text, yet the way that the text portrays a plate of fire, or circle of fire, caused a ton of contention, particularly in the Vatican, which actually denies having the papyrus or Tully's unique interpretation in its control. Nonetheless, Alberto Tully has turned into a regarded individual from the UFO research local area, a significant number of whom guarantee that the book is an undeniable hotspot for the presence of extraterrestrial life. Is the Tully Papyrus solid? Dubious writer Eric von Daniken additionally remembered the Tully Papyrus as obvious proof for his book guaranteeing different effects on early human culture. The Tully Papyrus immediately became one of the principal known human records in which flying boats were portrayed exhaustively. However, is it a phony? In 1968, the U.S. Flying Corps charged the College of Colorado to lead a logical examination concerning the peculiarity of unidentified flying items, UFOs, which became known as the Condon Report, drove by physicist Edward Condon. During this examination, various reports and authentic records archiving unexplained UFO sightings were inspected. One such archive is the Tully Papyrus, an old record that supposedly contains references to UFO sightings in Old Egypt. Samuel Rosenberg, one of the scientists engaged with the Condon Report, kept in touch with the Vatican to ask about the first archive referenced in the Tully Papyrus. Sadly, we have no record of the first archive known as the Tully Papyrus truly being in presence. After a cautious pursuit of our libraries and documents, we have tracked down no proof of this papyrus in our assortments. We accept that the record being referred to might be lost or was never important for our assortments. This reaction recommends that the Vatican didn't have the first archive known as the Tully Papyrus, bringing up issues about its whereabouts and whether it was lost or never existed.